Coming up, classes begin amidst a global pandemic. The state seeing little hope of flattening the curve.
And storms are sweeping through the South, continuing on into the weekend. The latest on those developments and more.
Good evening and thank you for tuning in to Newswatch Ole Miss. I'm Brian BARISA.
And I'm KAYLEE CRAFTON.
There are two major challenges to keeping up with online classes: keeping track of work and managing the time to complete it.
Although some students are seeing decreases in the amount of time that they need to dedicate to normal in-person class.
I'm standing on the Ole Miss campus where many things have changed this semester. One of those being a traditional class moved to online. Because of this transition, many students are concerned about the workload that they are receiving. Students are distanced around campus using their laptops. From the heavier workload to mainly online classes, students like Colby Passman are overwhelmed.
This semester, oh my gosh, this semester is like no other.
The move to online classes is a prevention step against COVID-19. Passman explains how having 15 hours of online classes is quite tricky for him.
Seems like I have to put in a lot more effort, with the online, because a lot of times I'm kind of just looking, making sure I'm doing the right thing, don't have the teacher to write it down on the board for me or anything.
While the course load is heavier and harder, Passman also notes that students are not familiar with online learning.
I would say it is harder and a big thing is there's definitely much more of a learning curve because a lot of students have never taken any online classes before.
Student Beatrice Branscombe also notes that she has more homework with classes online.
I definitely think I have a bit more, professors are just like, I don't know if they're trying to make up for last year or anything.
Students are really struggling with this transition to online classes, especially with more work. What the future brings for the university might enlighten them all. Dana Drake, Newswatch Ole Miss.
The best way to tackle online classes is to use some form of planner to keep track of due dates and make sure to work on classwork daily to avoid being overwhelmed at the end of the week. The coronavirus headlines this week are contradicting as officials see progress in states like Rhode Island, but deaths in places like Arkansas, all while students at colleges and universities are failing to follow health guidelines. There are COVID-19 outbreaks at universities in at least 19 states, and with deaths from COVID-19 averaging more than 1,000 a day for 25 consecutive days, the CDC is now projecting nearly 195,000 COVID deaths by September 12th, only a few weeks away.
Taking it to the state, the Mississippi Department of Health is reporting the state has topped over 80,000 COVID-19 cases, as an additional 585 were reported Wednesday. In Lafayette County, 44 new cases were confirmed on Wednesday, bringing the total number to over 1,000 since the pandemic hit. And with students back in Oxford and several returning to campus, the university is closely monitoring the virus. The university COVID-19 dashboard reported 168 active confirmed cases as of the virus as of Wednesday morning, including both students and faculty. Kids tailgating and groving goodbye for the season as fans storming campus for football games is a no-go, leaving some just sad, but others in complete uproar.
A packed game day grove will be no more due to the coronavirus pandemic. This leaves some students sad and even some in uproar.
It's gonna be dead for real, because people really come to the game for the grove. They don't really, they come to watch the game, but they'd rather be in the grove, because that's where everything goes down. It's the best atmosphere in Mississippi. It's a grove, so.
Students reflect on their experience in the Grove and what it feels like to not have that experience anymore.
My experience in the Grove, it was really fun and colorful. You get to see everybody dressed up, cute and everything. Then they had all the food and everything. It was a nice experience. It was a nice atmosphere. But because of COVID and everything, we won't get to experience that this year. And I really feel bad for the freshmen because they won't get to experience their Grove atmosphere, their freshman.
The Grove experience is one that people tend to never forget. Once entering, you see various tints of different colors, there are different foods, and the Pride of the South band is playing. Some freshmen have witnessed this experience and are saddened that they won't get to experience it while in school.
Not being able to go to the Grove is definitely going to be very upsetting because I've grown up going here my whole life, and it's going to be sad not seeing my family and friends.
Though the Grove won't be as packed as it usually is, people are still ready for the game day experience. This is Desmond Matthews, Newswatch Ole Miss.
15 Rebel athletes have tested positive for COVID-19. This was confirmed in an official statement sent out to the university community last week. The positive cases were revealed after a massive screening was conducted for all student athletes. 11 of the 15 students are part of the same team. Those who tested positive were isolated immediately. The university is now recording a total of 168 active confirmed cases. Ole Miss is welcoming students back into on-campus living amidst the risks of COVID-19. And as a result, they have taken great measures to put in place quarantine housing for on-campus students who are exposed or contract the virus.
The University of Mississippi is welcoming students back into on-campus living amidst a pandemic. Consequently, they have taken great measures to put in place quarantine housing for on-campus students who are exposed to or contract COVID-19. Community Assistant Jacelyn Frierson has recognized that the quarantine housing is the most viable solution to a long-term on-campus semester. Frierson believes her residents are mostly receptive and accepting to the possibility of having to stay in quarantine housing in the event of contact with the virus.
I think students are very receptive to the quarantine housing, and I think they're appreciative of the fact that if they were to be exposed or test positive, they wouldn't be automatically sent home. They have an option to go to on campus.
Sophomore Avery Nesbitt was in quarantine housing before school even started and noticed some alarming issues.
No monitors. While I was there, I could see people like coming and going and like leaving and coming back because nobody monitored whether they actually stayed or not. So unless they monitor like very closely how they come in and come out of quarantine housing, it's not going to be beneficial because it's like a free for all. Like you can come and go as you please as long as somebody's there like tell you you can't go anywhere.
While the location of the quarantine student housing buildings remain unnamed, the university ensures students that they are being maintained and kept up in accordance to the CDC guidelines. This has been Amira Lockhart, Newswatch Ole Miss.
COVID-19 has affected the way colleges operate, but the fall 2020 semester start is leaving organizations like Greek Life stuck planning how primary recruitment will continue.
I'm standing outside on Sorority Row where you would normally see behind me white tents filled with students going through recruitment. This year it's looking a little different, but the University of Mississippi's fraternity and sorority life are doing what they can to make it as fun and normal as possible.
Greek organizations are a prominent part of the Ole Miss undergraduate experience. Director of the FSL, Dr. Arthur Doctor, says recruitment being on Zoom this year could not only keep students safe from COVID-19, but help new members and current members be less nervous.
Okay, it's just like a longer Snapchat conversation, a longer FaceTime, so I think students would be more comfortable being themselves.
With over 2,000 students going through recruitment, much planning went into converting an entirely in-person process to fully virtual during COVID.
And still maintain its integrity, still maintain the experience and the desire for P&Ms to have a positive experience. I hope that the campus community really appreciates that and understands that the community, the fraternity and sorority community here at the University of Mississippi, while we do have issues, really positively contribute to the undergraduate student experience here.
Alpha Phi's president, Anna Kirk-Presley, says stay true to yourself and don't be let down due to these changes.
Just have genuine conversations with everyone in each chapter to find where you fit in most.
The Pan-Hellenic recruitment process underwent yesterday evening and will carry on till next Sunday. I'm Madeline Nolan, Newswatch Ole Miss.
Sticking with recruitment, even with all the extra precautions taken for the safety of active and potential sorority members, one house is already experiencing a COVID-19 outbreak. A week ago, Provost Noel Wilkin tweeted about potential COVID-19 cases within a Greek organization, and it was quickly confirmed that 4 members living in one sorority house tested positive for the virus. These members immediately entered isolation away from the house while other residents of the house began the 14-day quarantine period. The university and the MSDH carried out contact tracing to notify other individuals who might have been in contact with these members. And school started earlier for elementary schools in Oxford as the entire 4th grade class at Lafayette Upper Elementary School began a 14-day quarantine period after confirmed positive COVID-19 cases. The school district reported 3 new cases of the virus, all among upper elementary faculty members Sunday. These additions brought the total count for the upper elementary school to 7 cases, 6 among faculty and staff members and 1 among the students. The 14-day quarantine period began on August 24th and will extend through September 7th.
The Mississippi State Flag Commission has narrowed the 5 flag designs selected last week to just 2. The two remaining are the shield and the magnolia flag. The commission's work began after a June 30th decision to retire the previous Mississippi state flag, a source of controversy due to its feature of the Confederate battle flag.
This week, Campus Recreation has been offering free fitness classes and climbing sessions for students and active CR members. All you have to do is register on the Ole Miss CR app or online at imleagues.com/Ole Miss. There are still 2 more days to take advantage of this free offer.
In Louisiana, authorities are hoping their temporary wall of sandbags holds back floodwaters. The National Guard rushed to repair a 500-foot gap in the levee over the weekend, which was washed away by the storm surge. The island itself was evacuated Saturday as Marco drew near. Now that Marco has made landfall as a tropical storm near the mouth of the Mississippi, the focus turns to Laura. The few residents that are left behind are hoping the sandbags continue to hold as Hurricane Laura hit landfall early yesterday morning. As the potentially devastating duo of tropical storms that are Laura and Marco make landfall, many Mississippians along the Gulf Coast are concerned for the damage they might cause and the lives it could potentially take. Governor Tate Reeves spoke on the matter.
The Gulf of Mexico, and just like we saw with Marco, there is a lack of predictability as to exactly where that's.
Governor Reeves declared a state of emergency for the storms Wednesday. Shelters will be open across the state in areas affected by the storms. According to the capacity for these shelters will be affected by the COVID-19 pandemic as health officials recommend social distancing and the 6 feet apart guideline. And Hurricane Laura is sweeping through the South as states prepare for the worst over the weekend.
KAYLEE Dedman is next to help us prepare for what to expect here in Oxford once we return. Stay with us.
Who's most at risk for coronavirus? People over 65, people with underlying medical conditions like heart disease, chronic lung disease, asthma, diabetes, people undergoing cancer treatment, and people with weakened immune systems. What should you do if you or a loved one is at higher risk? Avoid close contact with people, avoid crowds, stay home if you can, wash your hands frequently, learn more ways to protect yourself and others at coronavirus.gov.
Welcome back to Newswatch. I'm KAYLEE Dedman, and here's your weather headlines for this upcoming weekend. Get your umbrellas and rain boots ready because Hurricane Laura is here. Now, there will be a pause in the rain on Saturday, but it will continue on throughout the week with rain and being in the mid-80s for all next week with the temperature. Now, looking at tonight's weather, it'll be a low of 73 with thunderstorms still continuing in. Winds will be coming in from the southwest at 10 to 15 miles per hour, and a chance of rain is in the 80s. Now looking at tomorrow's forecast, it'll be a high of 93. It'll be partly cloudy, but winds will still be coming in 5 to 15 miles per hour, and there'll be a 20% chance of rain.
Why should young people care about the spread of coronavirus? Well, we know that people with underlying medical conditions over the age of 60 are at highest risk, but they've got to get it from somebody.
So we're asking everyone to be selfless for others so that we can protect those who are most susceptible.
Not going to bars, not going to restaurants. It all just means physical separation so that you have a space between you and others.
For more information on how you can social distance, please go to coronavirus.gov.
Last week, the SEC released the updated schedules for its 10-game conference-only season. The Rebels were originally going to travel to Houston to take on Baylor in the season opener, but now they will host the Florida Gators on September 26th. Ole Miss also added the Kentucky Wildcats and South Carolina Gamecocks to their schedule for Lane Kiffin's debut season. The end of the season will look a little different for Rebel fans as well, with the Egg Bowl scheduled for Saturday, November 28th, rather than the usual Thanksgiving night, and a trip to Baton Rouge to take on the reigning champs for the last game of the season on December 5th. The schedule isn't the only shakeup for Coach Kiffin's Rebels this season. A familiar face will be in a different place up front this year. Center Eli Johnson has decided to opt out of the 2020 season due to coronavirus concerns, and junior Ben Brown will be moving over from right guard to learn the center position. Although there is no word yet regarding whether the change is permanent, Brown is focusing on making sure the team is ready for whatever comes its way.
With COVID going on, with injuries happening all the time during the football season, you never know what kind of lineup you're going to have. So really, we're just trying to have everyone ready at any time.
Brown has started at right guard for the Rebels' last 24 games, and he has been taking reps at both positions in practice. The team has not announced who will take over at right guard if Brown does become the starting center. Switching it over to the pitch, the Lady Rebels held their first scrimmage of the 2020 season on Saturday, and the red team topped the gray team 3-1. Senior Molly Martin scored the lone goal for the gray squad, while Sadie Holland, Lonnie Mulligan, and Florida State transfer Taylor Radecki each netted one for the red squad. Radecki was one of 6 newcomers who played in the scrimmage. Coach Matt Mott is happy with the team's condition, especially considering their long and unexpected break from practice. And finally, a weight was lifted off the shoulders of student athletes across the country last week as the NCAA voted to give fall athletes an extra year of eligibility. In addition to the extra year, the board decided that schools cannot take away or reduce any scholarships for athletes who opt out because of COVID-19. The NCAA is also committed to try to host the canceled fall championships in the spring in whatever capacity they can, but said that the priority remains last year's winter and spring athletes who lost their seasons at the start of the pandemic. That's all I've got for sports. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at Newswatch_UM and on Instagram at Newswatch Ole Miss for the latest sports updates. Grayson, KAYLEE, back to you.
Well, KAYLEE, I would say sports really knocked it out of the park this week. And we have a story sure to rough up our show next.
See what national holiday barked up some attention after the break.
We are Ole Miss Rebels. As Mississippi's flagship university, we dig deeper, see farther, work harder. We pioneered human organ transplants. We helped prove Einstein's theory of gravitational waves. We are distinguished as a Carnegie R1 top 2.5% research institution. We are Ole Miss, transforming lives and the world.
Well, even though we may be going through some dog days here in the South, we always love a chance to celebrate our best furry friends. And this week celebrated National Dog Day.
And it doesn't matter which kind you choose to come home to, the day encourages people to own dogs of all breeds, pure and mixed.
You can celebrate by walking your dog, or if you don't own one, asking to walk your friend's dog, or volunteering at a local dog shelter.
Or even adopt, or begin fostering from your local shelter.
You know, KAYLEE, I've been back in Mississippi for a few weeks now, and I really am missing my dogs back home. Do you have any pets back home?
I do. I have a dog and I have 3 cats and I miss them all.
It's a lot of animals.
It really is.
Well, that's all we have for this week. We hope everyone is staying safe and having a great first week back of classes. I'm Brian BARISA.
Yes, and make sure to follow us on social media and tune in to our weekly shows. You can catch us on our Facebook live stream, the Ole Miss Cable Network, or on hottytoddy.com. Thank you and have a wonderful weekend. I'm KAYLEE CRAFTON, and we'll see you next time.